Hello, everybody. This is William Davis. I am with A.P.C Photography and WDCD Media as the owner of it, and multiple hats to go along with that. Tonight, we're going to be talking about some of the best solutions if you're going to be going into your event season for all the stuff you're doing. And what I'm talking about is if you're going into locations like Maidenbauer Center and saying, hey, look, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. I want to have an event that's going on. I want to have sound, light, video, some capture, maybe a way of having it, some stuff afterwards. This is what we're going to talk about tonight. And one of the things we're going to really talk about is the importance of having someone manage that portion of the experience. Because a lot of times what happens is you'll go to an event center and they'll say, well, I've got someone who can do sound, light, video, and everything else. But what you're trying to accomplish gets 80% there, but not the full 100. Or there may be some small errors, or we may have some areas of improvement that you wanted before the show started. And without a productions manager or an advisor, it's very difficult to know what you would need and how you would need going into the event center. Or one of the other things for best practice on this is every once in a while, you have a vision, but no one can really describe that vision in the terminology you need to go to the AV production side. I'll give you an example of what this is like. We were at a center similar to Maidenbauer Center. Great show, turned out pretty cool, but when we did our debrief, it turned out that there was a couple of things that were missing in the show that they had envisioned, but no one knew how to translate that over. For example, they wanted an interview station that went into the live stream itself, which is something that's easily doable, but they wanted it in another room in the hallway. And we captured interviews. We did a really great job there, but it just wasn't translated over originally. And this is where having someone who comes in as a technical advisor works. When I say it wasn't translated over easily and right was the company that is in-house there was told they wanted the interviews. And we got the interviews. But they weren't in the live stream. As I said, that's kind of repeating myself. And that's what I mean. And this is where having someone who's a production manager who's used to tearing into it, or an executive producer. Actually, not the executive producer, because executive producers are really good at handling all the money side. Producers are really good at handling that day and then some of the envisionment. But you need someone who's technical. And that's usually what's missing in the pie. Someone who can literally go in there and be like, I'm getting all the right ingredients put together that's going to handle all of your needs. And that's where someone like me comes in, and there's several people I know. There's some are called technical directors, some are evangelists, some are that slash guy. You know, they just come in as a consultant, and we just literally walk through the whole event, and we know every aspect of the technical side. And that sounds like a know-it-all, or as the expression goes. But imagine if you had to do an event, and you wanted it to be in 4 of the different rooms that are at Maidenbauer, and that's an easy thing for Maidenbauer to do. They have multiple different rooms. You wanted it all live streamed into the same live stream. So, for example, I could be in the back side of EV Mux and inviting in multiple computers and do that with ease. You wanted the ability to run a video in the room, but you also wanted another video to run on the live stream when you're on a break, but you don't want that to run in the room. So that's something we could have stored in I use EV Mux for an example. We could have stored the video here and then had those lined up to automatically start every 15 minutes or 10 minutes during the break period. So we're taking an hour break, go back onto the stream, but it's still going for the whole day. And we could have had that going for you and have it where people are going from one room to another scene, and it would all mix together properly. And that's the small technical side of it. And then in room, you would need to know what equipment you would have to accomplish your needs and make sure the sound, light, and the rest goes in. For example, an analog mixer is not the best choice, but it is the inexpensive choice if you're doing multiple rooms. Especially lately if you're wanting to get it into the live stream like a Zoom. Or if you're trying to you would need a digital mixer. if you're trying to get someone to come into the room from a Zoom versus coming into the room through a Teams, you would have to have someone know that on a Zoom, we will need an additional computer to make that possible. And it would come through clear without any echo issues and things like that. So your monitoring computer would be different and a few other things. And these are part of entering someone into the Zoom. And at the same time, how do I bring them in? And especially if we go into a live broadcast like this, where I can use Zoom, but go into this broadcast the way I want to. And there's another way we can do that. We would need a different thing than the basic ATEM. We would probably have to go to an HD ISO 8. And simple things like that will make a huge difference in your list of equipment you're going to get from Maitenbauer to make all those things happen. Then if we're transmitting from, let's just say, in the hallway and then we're also transmitting from the other rooms, are we going to hub them all together, or are we going to do them separately in each room? And if we're going to hub them all together, then we need a whole different setup, and we also need to know if there's internet, what type of network is it? Is it a singular network, or is it partitioned off network? Because there's different ways to network that in using Ethernet cables versus using a whole bunch of wires. And this is where someone who's a technical evangelist will come in and save you. Essentially, they're like your planner for the AV. Like a planner can plan out getting all the structures and getting in like a caterer and things like that. And please don't take this wrong. A caterer has a singular job for catering food. Someone who handles all of the tables, they have their job. When you look at video, sound, light, and broadcast, those are separate, entirely different divisions that have everything that each one of the ones I said before would have to get done. The assumption, though, is that can be done as a single entity because they all have to work together to choreograph this out. And all the planner has to do is say, this person do this person do this person do that, this person do that. And it doesn't always work out as smoothly because they're not generally one cohesive team. And having someone who's a production manager or a consultant to come in and help with making sure that shelf gets done is actually really important, because we're like the planners of sound, light, video, broadcast. We're going to also do a recording of it. That's a lot of different tables thrown up by itself. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain this, because we're going into some of the biggest seasons next year than we've ever had in the Pacific Northwest. As far as I know, World Cup is going to be here, and it's going to be a beautiful experience. But we've got to be able to just show that we're that next level city. And I want that to happen because this is my home. This is your home. These Maitenbauer centers, the Seattle centers, the convention centers, they're all going to be filled to the brim, and it's going to be beautiful. And right now, you're planning out everything you're going to do, and a lot of you are getting a hold of one AV company or another AV company, but there's a sound company that's separate from them. There's a broadcast company separate from them. There's a DJ that's separate from them. And the reason why they don't always glue together on time or in the way that you want is because there's not a consultant who is your advocate in your favor, who knows all those separate components. To give you an idea of just how expansive each side of it is, if we just did sound, we have in-room sound, we have recorded sound, and then we have sound that would go out to broadcast. On top of that, you have, with the in-room sound, someone who has to understand how to do a band versus just doing a few microphones. Or play sound from multiple different sources and know the correct board, which is a mixer board, that you would need. And also need to know the correct outputs and the types of speakers you would need. Then you have to have someone who's a rigging expert, because a lot of times when we're doing sound in the room, we need someone who can rig up all of those speakers and set them up and do it right and make sure the sound is going to be perfect with the number of equipment that they've got, and it's going to be in the right places. Then you got to have an audio engineer who's going to walk through and do some of the sound. Then you got to have somebody who knows the ins and outs if something were to fall apart. And with sound now, it's either done through a network, through old school wiring, or a combination of the two, which has really radically changed how we do it. We've also got to have what's called an RF engineer. And we still haven't left audio, by the way. This is just audio. We have to have an RF engineer. And that RF engineer's whole job for the whole day is lining up radio frequencies to make sure they're clean and clear so that someone can talk on a wireless microphone without that wireless microphone failing, that they can have in ears. So when they're up on stage, we can put what's a little body pack on you and then one earbud in, and you can hear yourself or you can hear any cues that are coming through, which is really nice to have. I mean, talkback is pretty cool when someone can jump on talkback and just say, hey, we're about 5 minutes away from doing this. You're sounding great. Can you throw a little more into your vocals? These are things that are really cool that we can do for you. And that's just in the RF side. Then we have someone who's really just going to be handling the microphones. And that's a wireless microphone. So basically all they're going to be doing is handing off microphones, making sure you're ready to go, and those things there. Now we haven't even got to the band yet. So we're going to have also someone who helps set up the band, make sure that their timing's right, they sound good. And we still haven't got the recording of that band or recording of the live audio. But this is just that section there. Now, as we get all the way back to the brains of things, we have to have someone who's going to do some EQing, who's going to have control over the audio board. We'll handle the broadcast portion of it or additional sound that's going out to different locations. I'll give an example of this. We have done several different venues, and we've been the only one to be able to pull it off, where we will have the main audio in one room. We will have main audio or DJ audio in an adjacent room, and then we'll have a pass-through of all the audio in another adjacent room from that. And then we will have audio going into the live stream. Plus, we will have support speakers, so you have confidence monitors. We will have the main speakers, fills, and all the rest. And we're doing this in these rooms that were really designed to have maybe a small conference. And this is the area we're having the consultant come in, because now a lot of these hotels and a lot of these convention centers are getting some really good equipment, but not the experienced personnel to be able to coordinate those last little pieces together. Now, that doesn't mean they aren't good. The Summit is really good. The Summit, since they opened the Summit, went from being about a 7 to now a 9. And some of that was network. They just couldn't get that network fixed. And the other of it was just they were watching what other people were doing. They were coming in as third-party vendors and mirroring it and having success off that. They were very, very smart at what they were doing. Maidenbauer, another one. They've done a really good job revamping everything they have. It's beautiful. It's one of the most gorgeous places as you can go and get an event done. It's still multiple rooms, and networking has been kind of a hard thing there. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It means it's very, very possible. They just have had growth things, and sometimes they're overbooked with the equipment that they have. And this is another key piece too. So, for example, the reason why you might want to have a consultant versus a planner that's just controlling the AV side is you may need projectors, you may need LED walls, you may need a combination of the two. You may need a specialized video sender, so a constellation type device. You might want to use vMix for sending it out for the live stream, or you just may want to do a direct RTMP or an SRT, depending if it's like a sporting event. ESPN and a lot of the others prefer you to use SRT for the transmission of the signal versus RTMP, or versus going through like a Vimeo type system. I mean, there's degrees to this. Microsoft has a really good setup too. Oh man, they got a beautiful setup. I'm just envious of that. But you definitely got to bring in some people who can glue that part together and help the teams that are there know exactly what they need to get done. And that's what I'm thinking for the best practices going into this next 24 months. We're going to have some huge events. We could really make Seattle just stand out and be the best place to do everything. But I just don't know how the best to assist people to get it done. And I know I'm rambling. It's like 11 o'clock at night. but it really is something that I'm thinking about for all those in position to have to make these decisions of how do I make my events that are coming up look the greatest. The other part is micro events. Here's where a lot of people get bit is the micro events. This is an area that some of these facilities do really good at, and some of them are still expanding their tool sets for. I'll give you an example. There was an event that recently was done that had a two speaker setup, a live stream component, recording the audio in camera, and making sure it was on the stream. Had what you call stems or individual channel recordings of the microphones. At the same time, had to make sure that the live stream didn't get shut down because it was on YouTube due to copyright music because the DJ was going to come on, and it got knocked down because the DJ came on. So their feed, which was on YouTube, was lost. And the reason why it was lost is because when they did their engineering part for the sound, no one consulted them on when you're going on the live stream, you cannot have the DJ's music go through because YouTube will most likely take you down. They're not going to block your channel off or get rid of you or make it where you can never do a live stream again. But they'll just get you on a copyright, and that copyright's going to be non-affecting to the channel, but it could fail for you. Now, this was a YouTube. This was not a Zoom. Zoom does not do that to you. Vimeo does not do that to you. But any of the publicly streamables, like what I'm doing, like today, they can do it. And it's kind of one of those like, oh, I just didn't know. So how would you do that? And the other problem with that system was they were using an analog board. Let me explain this part. It's kind of important. Let me walk you through the importance of a technician here. I'm going to use a Northwest company because I like this company. So Mackie mixer. Da-da-da. We're going to use what I think is a really good mixer because I know they do recording at the same time. It's going to be this here. And this is fairly similar mixer to what I was talking about. All right. Thank you for your patience. I really appreciate it. So this is generally what you're going to run into when you go to a lot of these hotels that are going to run a two-speaker system. They're going to have a board that looks like this. And what happens is a lot of times you're trying to get the live stream done and you're trying to be in room. You're going to only have like two microphones and maybe like DJ going into it or pre-recorded music or Bluetooth stuff. And this will do the job. Now going into the live stream, how would you get it into the live stream and have the best sound and not accidentally kicked off the live stream due to maybe having music that you don't have the copyright to or have the ability to transmit? This is where understanding this product will make a difference. So let me see if I can find some good pictures of where we're of all these pieces. Let's see. Built in, the effects. Some pictures of this. All right, let me see if I can find some pictures here. Let's see. Do we have pictures? Overview. Come on. That's just the overview. Not that one there. Let's get some images here. Thank you for your patience. I'm just literally pulled this up and thought I'd go right to work on it. I may have to look at it from, here they are. Product photos. Here we go. So, start with the top part here. You see these right here that say auxiliary or AUX. This is how you would get your live stream done right. You would not want to go through what they call the main, where it says MA, just the main there, which would give you your main signal off those. You want to go through an auxiliary signal so you can control what's going on. And so, for example, mic 1 and mic 2 is what you want to live stream. 3, 4 are going to be your DJ or whoever else audio that's not supposed to go in the live stream. And essentially what you would do is you would see where it says AUX. You would just turn that up to about the middle for both of those, 1 and 2. And then you see where it says MON. Well, below where it says AUX is a thing that says MON. That's monitor, and that's the signal you would send out to your ATEM. And that signal would actually come from this one right here where it says MON, balanced and unbalanced. And you would use a cable, and here's one of the things for having a technician with you that helps a lot, or a consultant, is they would know the exact cable to get. And this one's just a TRRS cable, which is a balanced cable to a TRS cable. TRS to a TRS cable. One would be a 1/4 inch and one would be a 1/8. And that's the cable you would need, and it would put a line level signal out for you and get you in the right position. A lot of times what happens is people don't know that, and what they're trying to do is they take the headphone jack that's on the top, and they'll just connect that to an ATEM and then use the volume there to turn that up and down. Not exactly the best way to go, and sometimes you don't get the cleanest signal out of that. Or a controlled signal. Sometimes a little hot, things like that, but the best way would be to use the way I just showed you. The other advantage to that is when you add in this, there's a couple other outputs too. If you were someone who just was going to use going through Zoom, everything else, but not YouTube, and you wanted the main signal that came out of the room, but you also need to have the 2 speakers in the room, where these little XLR inputs are on main, just use those for the main speakers. There's a specialized cable that works with what you see, this thing that says control room. It's a 1/8 jack times 2, 1/4 jack times 2 to a stereo jack, which is a TRS and an 1/8 inch. That will go to your ATEM or any other units like that you work with, which is generally what you're going to do when you have that size of a unit, that size of an event. And then you would have the right connections. Now, that isn't always what happens in these venues we're going to do in the smaller ones, because that's not what their A1s who are used to using a $20,000 mixer, an $8,000 mixer, a digital mixer would know what to do. I've ran into it a few times when I've asked one of them, hey, can you go ahead and do me a huge favor, please? Would you please give me a line out of the monitor so we can put it into the live stream? All the cables are over in the box. Wonderful, I appreciate you, and walked away. I come back, and I'm seeing like a headphone setup and a weird thing, and it's like, okay. And then we talked for about 5 minutes or so. We kind of walked through how to do it. And every single one of them has said to me, well, I'm not used to using an analog board, and when I have been using an analog board, all of us have said this is the best way to do it. It gives up our ability to monitor in the headphones, but we get the signal out to the live stream, and it works. When I show them the way to do it with a monitor, and they're like, oh, this is so much easier, and I get way more control, just like I do with doing a bus or a matrix. And they love it. So these are the reasons why you need to have like a consultant coming in just to handle your AV. Now, we just did audio alone. Now we're getting to the video side. On the video side, it can get even more intense, because video doesn't cover broadcast. Video is just video. So when we're doing video, there's going to be a couple things we're going to need. If we're going to have cameras on sticks, and sticks is just tripods, and we just call them sticks because, I don't know, it just became part of the industry name. It's just common nomenclature. And when you're doing that, and you happen to have someone who's on camera, who's controlling the camera like a camera operator, they're going to need to know what lenses they need to get the distance they need, what f-stop they're going to need, or what t-stop they're going to need. And both of those are really, essential pieces. Give me a second here. Essential pieces for production. And the reason why they're essential pieces for production is you want to have the right tripod or sticks, and you want to have the right lens to get the distance and the shots you want to get. Say, for example, if the shot you're looking for is like this, which is just an upper third shot, close up, we would probably need to get something that's got 400 millimeters or 600 millimeters of zoom or more to be able to get that shot. Now, if you're looking for a shot that is most of the body, someone standing up, you can get away with a 100 to 200, possibly a 300. So it helps that they would know what to do there. The other portion is what type of stands we're going to need and the space we're going to need, working along with the planner. Now, the planner generally will work with architecture of the room, but having the consultant like myself or someone else come in, working with them who understands planning a room and then says, hey, we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 tops size areas just for the 4 cameras in the room. Can you give us that space? And then I also need one of those different parts of staging you put up. I need about a 3-inch space in between them. And the reason why you need that 3-inch space in between them is so that you can isolate the camera from the camera operator. Well, we used to have spiders too, but we'll get into that later. And that way, when they're moving, it doesn't shake the camera. And those are things we need to do, and we may have 4 different camera operators at that point. The other part on video too is a lot of times aesthetically it doesn't look pretty seeing those camera ops up. So then we have to look at other solutions. Now, what solutions would be best for that? There are people who have went with internal pan, tilt, and zoom cameras from, say, the hotel they're working with, but didn't get a huge light package to go with it. And that's another part of video where we understand the light package that's needed. And when it was shot, and for iMag, it just wasn't there. Now, iMag technically is not part of video at the same of camera work, but it is still something that someone like me as a consultant would understand that, oh, we're not going to do a lighting package for this. This could be an issue with the cameras that you've chosen. And I'll give you a broad example difference. So if you were at Maidenbauer's conference room and you ordered a regular lighting where you can see everybody pretty cool, and you wanted to do video with that, you would have video that have a lot of shadows on the face, and it would really be dark or it would be grainy if someone were to turn up the gain if you were using a PTZ or a camcorder type camera. In that case there, or even if you were using an Ursa, you would have that issue. In that case there, you would want to go with an FX6 or you want to go with an FX3 as the body. This would allow you to save money on the package for lighting, since you don't want to set up a whole lighting package and everything for the room, which, yes, lighting packages can be expensive. So changing out the cameras, which really only changes it by $100, $200 one way or another, not that much of a difference, or $50 or $60 per camera, not that much of a difference, can make a huge difference on the actual look. Now, it could make a difference if we're trying to save money on camera operators. You may find yourself having to make a choice of, should I go with one PTZ operator who operates 4 cameras, or should I go with 2 camera angles, get a better overall show, because we can see everybody cleanly in both the stream and on the iMag. So those are one of the things where having a consultant come in and really helps out a lot. Or even if you're in a position where you got a medium-sized light package and you're trying to figure out, well, I don't want to run with a whole bunch of camera operators, which I get it. I want to run with PTZs because I like them because they're clean, they look good in the room. And then it's my job to help your planner understand and explain to you, we need to go with the Canon N500s or the 700s because they have a 1-inch sensor on them. They're way better in low light. You will look good even if you have a low lighting situation. They do cost a little bit more because each one of those units and their retail costs are $7,000 to like $15,000. They're worth it. They get put up, they work, they get a camera operator with them, so you're probably looking at 4 cameras in a distribution center and a network piece. So you saved a little bit of money on. You'll probably save maybe $800, $1,000 by the time the networking and everything gets done. But it kind of also matters on what you're doing with the network system too, and that's a good way to go. It's not huge savings, but when you're trying to do $150,000 gala, $1,000 here, $1,500 there, can make the difference for the other side of it. And my job is to help you get that all kind of figured out and make that happen in a way that's cohesive, so that the producer can worry about, I'm going to make this happen. And I know that sounds kind of weird that a planner, a producer, and a consultant's there, but having that consultant in the middle between the producer and the rest and with you allows you to get this all done in a way, because that's just video, and I haven't even really got all the camera side of it. That's just the cameras going up and figuring out figure out lighting with it, figure out the zooms, figure out the lenses. That's that. And then finding a camera operator that knows how to use those every time and get it right and accurate every single time they use it. Then we're going to go into the video side. Now, video can be part of the iMag system. And we generally include that in that with the video side, but they don't really set up the iMag stuff, so the projectors are generally in the room, LED screens are generally up there. But when you're on the video side, then it gets really complex, because you got to know the cameras that are coming in. You need to know what is going out to the screens, to the confidence monitors, to the timer, and all the rest. So that starts jumping into video. Now notice, each time I go into one of these, it sounds like I'm bringing a whole new department in, because basically we are. And this is why a lot of times when we're planning these large events, we treat sound and video as like one piece, and it's super easy. And it's actually a pretty big recipe to get done. And I love doing it. It's one of the things I have a tremendous passion for, and I love watching the end results get out there that are spectacular. Now, when we start getting into the video, we want to make sure that we got the right equipment for you. I'll give you an example here. If you're having a show where you're just going to have a video go up, it might go into the live stream, which could go to anywhere in the broadcast, and you just want to record it as it went with the lower thirds and everything. You can get away with using an ATEM or a Cinetriac as your switcher board, because you can send the signal out as a preview for one piece or another. Actually, you can't get it with the ATEM. You would have to go up to an HD. Well, you can still do it with ATEM, depending on the number of cameras. But still getting it in the room would be a little bit of work. A Cinetriac is going to be a little bit easier, but you're definitely going to have to use an ATEM Extreme versus using an ATEM Mini, minimum. And that does make a difference. And if you're getting a little more complex, say where you want a confidence monitor, you want a couple other things in the room, you want to be able to put cart into the room, and then you may also want to put in sign language into the room, then you're going to need a constellation. And then it gets a little more complex. You're bringing a signal in, you're bringing another signal in. We have to go to other rooms. Plus, we have to bring a confidence monitor up to the stage, and they can have whatever you want it for that. It could be the presentation, the PowerPoint, the combination of speech, or multiple of those. So as we start getting into this, let's start getting into the sauce. Now, notice, caterers just got to get the food out. That's it. Got to get the food. And they do a magnificent job. They have that cornerstone right there, and that is amazing. We got to get the tables done. Beautiful job. I love it. It's a cornerstone. They're working on that. They get the flowers. They get the rest of the stuff done. Boom. That's that. We got to get someone who's going to be getting all the tables arranged. Beautiful work there. Love it. Gorgeous. Absolutely amazing. But AV is considered to be doing, it's just sound and video. We have separate components that need to make sure they work together properly with this. And so with the sound, I need to know what the video is going to be, and then I'll be able to connect the correct audio in and audio out from that to go into the room and then go into the stream. and then put the right personnel in the correct places. And then I have to be able to translate that between you and somebody else, or the executive producer, and that you've got going on that can work on the other side of the producer and the production side that you guys are doing in those meetings, where you're like, oh, we want to do the slides, we want to do this, we want to do that. I generally don't join those meetings. Now, give me a second here. There's a reason why I don't. When it comes to the PowerPoints and slides, you're still in the evolution of those. You would generally bring me in about the first two meetings of what you're envisioning the show to be, about a third of the way in for another one of those meetings, just to get an idea of where you're headed with that. Because sometimes I may throw some ideas and say, "Hey, look, let's kind of figure out where we're at, and we're gonna get this lined up so it sounds good, looks good, and is video good in the room." May offer a few suggestions, and then show you where we're going there. And then when we're probably about 30 days to 45 days before the show, this is when we're going to start finalizing what we're going to have in the room. This is when my job comes in, and I'm going to sit down with you, and we're going to really hammer out what speakers are going to go in the room. What utility pieces do we need for the bands? Do we have people that prefer an over-the-ear microphone, or they want to use a handheld stick microphone? And I like to accommodate everyone with that. I know there's some that love the lavalier, so if we're going to use a lavalier, are we going to have the right lavalier that works with the speaker system we're working with, so that there is no hiss or higher pitch to it? And that's hard to eliminate a lot of times with lavaliers, where one of these is not. That's the reason why you see a lot of the higher-end shows using these pieces here for their live shows. Which cameras we're going to use, all the rest, the lighting package, those things there. We're going to start hashing out the final pieces of that. Now, at the beginning, we sculpted out an idea of what the package should be. Towards the end, we're going to finalize everything. And why we do it 30 to 45 days before is, one, if we have to make any adjustments on budget, we can do those budget adjustments now, because you may give me a budget that says it's X, or give your AV team a budget, this is X. And my job at that point is to make sure X happens. So as we evolve and move things around, I got connections. So sometimes we may be able to just get some the right gear in the right place at the right thing, and there might be another show that's already going on over in, let's just say there's a show that's in another room, and they're already going to have it that day, so it's easier to bring that stuff over to us. Or they give you what's called just, this is a flat rate, just pull what you need off the truck. Maybe in that situation, if it's a flat rate pulled off the truck, then it just makes my life easier. I just get the right pieces and move forward. But the whole idea is, going into this next season, we have an opportunity to turn Seattle from being a destination location, which is really awesome, to being the premier West Coast and global destination for everybody to do an event, from small, medium, large, to, whoa, we are taking over a whole entire 4 different stadiums in the area. Yes, I said 4, because I count Lumen twice. So, and because I like the soccer stuff. But long story short, we have an opportunity right now to get things going, and some of the best practices is on the AV side. I think you should have a separate consultant that helps you through it. There's a couple of great ones out there that I can tell you about that are good at figuring these out. Stephen Dalt, he's really good at figuring it out. Carlos Amani, he's really good at figuring it out. Myself, I'm really good at figuring it out. Us three, at any point in time, you put us in a room and you give us a budget and a vision, scope, and scale of what you want to do, the end result will be a perfect show. The only areas that would not be perfect are the human errors of things you can't control. But when it comes to the technical side of it, it will be done. And that's because of the experience of all of us together in the room of doing live production, live everything, and working with multiple teams. And there's some great, great venues out there right now that have vastly improved all the equipment they have. There's a brand new place in Everett called Indigo. They do events anywhere from 15 people to 350 people. And they do a great job. And it's a great place if you need an event like that. If you go up here to Tulalip, they have one of the best, if not the absolute best, like venue for doing just about anything you want to do. So if you want an outdoor concert, they can get it done for you. If you wanted to do a multi-room event that has 1,500 people in it to 2,500 people, they can do it for you. One of the best event centers out there. One of the newest ones, and also another great event center, is going to be Linwood Event Center. That one is magnificent. If you're in the South End, and there's another one that has really great equipment. Now, this is a great example. The what do they call that? The Performing Arts Center in Federal Way. This is an example of where it is really one of the nicest places to go to if you're using their main portion. If you're also adding in extra services, it's best to bring in a third-party vendor to handle those extras in the room because it saves you some of the scale scope because they're really scaled to go high. And if you're looking for medium in those other rooms and turning it into a micro conference, you can run 4 speakers in there, plus a confidence monitor, 2 different mixers, partition out the room or reconnect the rooms together, run 2 or 4 cameras, and it's a really simple place to do it at. And they're easy to accommodate. The room will handle, I think, around 200 people on tops. It looked like it did when I was looking at it, and it was a beautiful setup there. What I'm really saying is when you're getting a planner for most of your events, go with that. I'd also recommend a consulting or a planner for if you're doing the AV side because it's getting to where we're in a brand new world where the exclusivity of broadcast and live event being a separate piece or having to be a $200,000 thing has changed. And having a consultant to help you through that's going to make a big difference. And then on the best practices, especially coming into this coming up year, I think a lot of people will be surprised the amount of work we're going to have to do for making sure the World Cup comes across as smooth and phenomenal. And I believe it will. I believe we're going to become the paramount place to be. It better be. My family's here. The production teams I work with are here, and they are phenomenal. All the venues I go to are absolutely phenomenal. The caterers are superb in this area. I'm loving what we get to do, and I think what's going to happen for 26 is we're going to get our first taste of what it's like to be that big international city since the World Fair. And I'm loving it. I'm loving the opportunities we're going to have, and that's about it. Thank you for watching. It's been like 40 minutes or so, and this is I'm getting a little more comfortable with, and I should be able to give you better shows with better resources. Please forgive me. I'm generally on the backside of this. I'm generally with a camera or productions or I'm running the switch and at the same time being the producer and the rest. But I've been thinking about solutions and where we can grow in the Pacific Northwest in every aspect of AV production because I want us, and I want everyone to hear this, I want everyone to look at us like they look at us for IT, that we are the best in the world. We may only be 8 million people here in the state of Washington, but we are the best 8 million. Don't get mad at me when I say that, because I'm from Dallas, Texas, so the Metroplex is 8 million people right now. So I grew up in a place that was a whole state, just the Metroplex. So please don't be mad at me. I kind of grew up with a humongous population. But I thank you for watching. I appreciate all of y'all. I want us to be the best of the best out there, and take care. Have a good night. For those on YouTube, subscribe, follow, comment, ask questions. If you want to, email me, whatever it is, you'll find it in my bio. For those on LinkedIn, direct message me. If you have any questions, would like to know some of the best practices to ensure your show is going to go correct, we can do a quick consult, and sometimes it may just be a small thing. For example, let's pull this up real quick. This is the most common thing I run into. Is how do we get the live stream to get a really good signal with the equipment I'm getting from the venue I'm at, and do I have the right pieces? 9 times out of 10, it's just 2 or 3 cables. But if you don't know the correct cables, you can't get the sound to go through. And 9 times out of 10, too, It is knowing which one of these little switches and knobs do I need to turn to make that work. And that's it. That's generally all it is. And I find that to be the part where we have the hardest, getting it all done. Hey, hey. So yeah, I'm over at Layla right now. One of my favorite people just walked through. So, and I'm having a good time. Speaking of which, that's one of the things too. I'm sitting in Tulalip right in the sports bar. Just so you know, I'm right in the sports bar. I don't think you're really hearing the sports bar. That's because knowing the right equipment makes a difference when doing a live stream. That's why I use this microphone, because it picks up less of the room and mainly just me. I can even look at the mic signal and see it's not picking up the rest of the room, except for when I'm speaking. That being said, everyone, have a good night. I could ramble on forever. I just want y'all to do great coming up in 2026. Here's some of the best practices. Bye, I guess.